There is a child, maybe one you recognize, maybe one you once were, who wants nothing more than to feel safe. A child who craves the kind of love that is steady, predictable, and warm. But instead, the love they receive comes in waves, sometimes overflowing, sometimes disappearing without warning. And in that emotional storm, the child learns a lesson far deeper than anyone notices. Love is never guaranteed, so the child clings tighter, cries louder, holds on a little too long, not because they want attention, but because they're terrified of being left behind. And the heartbreaking truth is this: when that child grows up, the pattern doesn't vanish. It simply the desperate cry becomes a racing heartbeat, an overthinking mind, a fear whispering, "What if they walk away?" The adult version looks calm on the outside, but inside is a storm. This is the beginning of anxious attachment, a psychological pattern far more common than people realize. Psychologists have spent decades studying how our earliest relationships shaped the way we love as adults. British psychiatrist John Bowlby, followed later by researcher Mary Ainsworth, discovered something profound. The bonds formed in our earliest years act as blueprints for how we trust, how we connect, and how we experience intimacy later in life. For someone with an anxious attachment style, love has always felt fragile, like a flame that might flicker out at any moment. So they hover close to it. They monitor it. They fear losing its warmth. Maybe you felt it too. Overthinking a text message, feeling uneasy when someone doesn't reply, worrying your partner doesn't love you as much as you love them. This isn't weakness. It isn't neediness. It is a learned survival strategy, one that made perfect sense to the child who grew up with inconsistent love. But what helped the child survive becomes exhausting for the adult. Because now, you're no longer a small child waiting for reassurance from a parent. Yet your nervous system still reacts as if uncertainty equals danger. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Studies suggest that nearly 1 in 5 adults show strong anxious attachment patterns. Millions of people quietly carry this fear, feeling torn between wanting closeness and fearing abandonment. And that paradox hurts deeply. On one hand, anxiously attached individuals crave intimacy more intensely than most. They want to merge with someone emotionally, to feel secure, to feel loved beyond question. But on the other hand, that craving can overwhelm relationships. Small silences feel like rejection. Minor conflicts feel catastrophic. Distance feels like desertion. To truly understand why, we must look back at how this pattern forms. Children are biologically wired to seek safety from caregivers. When those caregivers respond consistently, a solid internal foundation is built. But when responses are unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, the child learns uncertainty. They learn they must earn love, monitor it, fight for it, protect it. Their nervous system becomes hyper-tuned to every shift in tone, every pause, every sign of emotional distance. This vigilance is adaptive for a child in an unstable environment. It helps them maintain connection. But in adulthood, it becomes a source of constant anxiety. Anxious attachment isn't drama. It isn't overreaction. It is the body following the rules it learned in childhood. If I don't hold on tightly, love will slip away. Imagine living with a constant background hum of what if they leave. Sometimes loud, sometimes soft, but always playing in the background. And this doesn't only appear in romantic relationships. It shows up everywhere. Friendships, work dynamics, Anxiously attached individuals often fear disappointing others. They avoid conflict. They say yes when they want to say no, not because they lack boundaries, but because saying no feels dangerously close to losing connection. But here's the truth. Anxious attachment is not destiny. It's a pattern, one that can be understood, softened, and even transformed. And the first step is awareness. To see the pattern clearly, to understand where it came from, to know it was never your fault. Because beneath the anxiety is something deeper, a child who did their best to survive unpredictable love. And that is where our journey begins. A child grows up, but the attachment system doesn't. The same nervous system that once scanned for a parent's mood now scans a partner's tone, texting habits, silences, and emotional shifts. What began as survival becomes a cycle, sometimes subtle, sometimes overwhelming. You might know the cycle well. Someone you care about becomes quiet for a few hours, and your stomach drops. Your mind jumps to conclusions. Did I do something wrong? Are they losing interest? Are they pulling away? A single unread message becomes a threat. A change in tone becomes evidence. A delayed response becomes a story, usually the worst one. This is the anxious attachment system in action. Fast, reactive, protective. Its job is to prevent abandonment at all costs. But in adulthood, the threat is almost always imagined, while the emotional reaction is entirely real. And so begins the painful loop. Fear gives clinging, gives distance, gives more fear. The more anxious you feel, the more reassurance you seek. The more reassurance you seek, the more overwhelmed the other person may feel. Their distance triggers your panic. Your panic triggers their withdrawal, and the cycle reinforces itself again and again. But none of this reflects your worth, or your value, or your capacity for love. It reflects an attachment system doing exactly what it believes is necessary to keep you safe. The anxious mind interprets small signals as big threats because, long ago, small signals were big threats. A slight shift in a caregiver's tone could mean withdrawal. Looking away could mean emotional distance. Coming home late could mean a day without connection. The child learned to notice everything because everything mattered. That hyper-awareness doesn't disappear. It grows up with you. So when someone says, "You're overreacting," they don't understand. Your reaction isn't irrational. It's learned. But learned patterns can be unlearned. Psychologists call this earned security the process, where someone with anxious attachment gradually becomes more secure through consistent, stable relationships, therapy, or even deep self-work. But before healing begins, something must be acknowledged. Anxious attachment carries a grief that is rarely voiced. It is the grief of love that felt unpredictable, safety that came and went, and a childhood spent trying to hold everything together. Many anxiously attached adults carry a quiet sadness, a longing for the comfort they never consistently received. Recognizing this isn't weakness, it's liberation. Because the moment you see the origin, the shame dissolves. You weren't too emotional. You weren't too sensitive. You were a child adapting to your environment. And now, as an adult, you have the chance to rewrite those patterns. Healing begins when you can pause in moments of panic and say, "This is my attachment system speaking, not reality." That simple awareness is the first crack in the cycle. Another essential skill is self-soothing. Many anxiously attached individuals rely on others for emotional regulation. Learning to regulate internally: deep breathing, grounding, journaling. Emotional labeling helps the nervous system see that safety can come from within. Relationships remain the most powerful teacher. A partner who communicates openly, a friend who stays consistent, a therapist who shows up predictably. Each of these creates corrective experiences that teach the nervous system a new truth. Love can stay. Silence isn't rejection. Conflict isn't abandonment. But the path is not linear. Some days you'll feel secure. Other days, the old panic will return, loud and convincing. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're healing. And beneath all the fear, something beautiful exists. A desire for closeness so deep, it can change the way you love once it's rooted in security rather than fear. But to reach that place, we must uncover one more truth: the relationship you have with yourself. The deepest part of healing anxious attachment isn't about fixing how you relate to others, it's about repairing how you relate to yourself. Many anxiously attached people tie their worth to external validation. They feel lovable only when someone else confirms it. But healing begins when you start offering yourself the reassurance you've always looked for in others. Imagine stepping into the role your younger self needed most: a steady caregiver, a warm presence, a calm voice that says, "I'm not going anywhere." This is reparenting, not in a childish sense, but in a profound psychological one. You become the consistent source of safety you were once missing, and when you do, something remarkable happens. The anxious voice, the one that whispers, "What if they leave?" begins to soften, bit by bit, day by day. The nervous system learns a new rhythm, a new music, a new truth. Love isn't something you chase. It's something you can experience without fear. People with anxious attachment often carry extraordinary gifts. Their sensitivity makes them deeply empathetic. They feel deeply. They notice emotional shifts that others miss. They love with rare intensity. These are not flaws. These are superpowers. Once anchored in security, healing doesn't erase these qualities. It elevates them. Imagine a person who once feared abandonment, now grounded in their own worth. Their sensitivity becomes emotional intelligence. Their longing becomes depth. Their awareness becomes wisdom. Their relationships shift from clinging to connection, from fear to presence, and something else changes too. The world feels different.